Hey, hi sisters and brothers. We're back for another video. Um, Actually, we did a video some time ago, it ain't been that long ago, on Habakkuk chapter 2, and we're gonna kind of take a different look at it, but this time we're also gonna take a look at Habakkuk 1 and 2. So I never made any notes. So I'm gonna go on my memory. I know it's probably not the safest thing to do, but that's what we're gonna do. And I'm just gonna say whatever comes into my mind to say, what I remembered from reading it. I think it was 2 days ago that I read Habakkuk 1 and 2, and I said, well, I'm gonna do a video on them. And because it just popped into my mind whenever I wanted to say something, I just thought, well, I should remember it. So let's see how it goes. So Habakkuk 1, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. Now, Habakkuk means embrace. His name actually means embrace. And I did go read up on him, and they're starting to kind of look at things a little bit in a different light, which I find quite amazing. And if I think to, I will leave the link from Eberham Publications and what they had to say. The perspective that they give on that name is really different than what you might think. But it does, they say, mean embrace and possibly an to ardently embrace. Okay? So that's what his name means. So the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. So we've got violence coming into the fray here. Okay. Why does thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievances or grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention, and there are, let me see, let's read another one. Why do you force me to look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrongdoing? Oppression, there we go. Oppression and violence are right in front of me. Strife is ongoing and conflict escalates. So the idea here behind this thought is none of these things should be going on. You know, we've been taught to really look at things in such a screwed up way. I was reading some non-canon today. Canon I had never been in before. And I'm going to I think, and I probably shouldn't even be saying it, but I think I'm just going to make a short 5-minute video. And I'm going to read a hymn that I hit. And I'm fascinated that I hadn't been in these two parts of the Apocrypha. I'd heard them spoken on off and about off and on, and I just never bothered to really go look at them with so much other information. It's the same with the ley lines. Frankie mentioned the ley lines, and you know, about 10 years ago, I actually copied off the ley lines of North America. Now, I had tried to find a global map that would show the ley lines because I was looking at everything at that time about 10 years ago. And so I have stacks and stacks of papers of things that I copied off that it's kind of hard to find now. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it certainly is. And what I realized back then is that if I didn't narrow my focus, that I was going to end up losing my line that I was supposed to follow. And so I had to cut out a lot of things that I found extremely interesting at the time. But I knew that it wasn't going to further me at that time in my studies, so I really had to let a lot of it go until it should come up in my line of sight when I am studying. So anyway, but I am going to make a short, it's probably going to be about 5 minutes to read that. And just leave it in the mind to perk for anyone like me who had never read some of this stuff. So anyway, the important thing here is that this stuff is all coming up, and more or less the idea behind it is injustices, tolerated wrongdoings, oppression, and violence are right in front of me. Strife is ongoing and conflict escalates, and none of these things from the statement should really be going on in the land. Therefore, the law is slack. So there we go with the law. We're bringing the law back in. Is slack, and judgment does never go forth. It never goes forth. You know why? Because as long as you're founded on a religious lie saying it's not about the law, it's not about the law, it's not about the keeping of God's law, it's just about faith, nothing will ever change. And that's the point of the lie. So therefore the law is slacked, and judgment does never go forth, for the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. That's what's in the land today. We have a perversion of the law system. Look at this. Verse 4 says it. I like the way HCSB renders it. It says, this is why the law is ineffective and justice never emerges for the wicked. Restrict the righteous, and therefore justice comes out perverted. Yeah, it's so amazing because that's an absolute encapsulation of the law system of man, right? Man. Forget woman, who is the oppressed here, right? Now, you can put men in there as well, right? Because we know that she is promised also to have righteous sons that come of her and understands this way of governance. So the Lord's answer, behold ye, actually, you know what? I was going to read the NASB version. I could read the HCSB. But you know what? Let's just skip through it again. The oracle which Habakkuk the prophet saw, and we'll use the NASB. How long, O Lord, will I call for help, and you will not hear? I cry out to you violence, yet you do not save. Why do you make me see iniquity and cause me to look on wickedness? Yes, destruction and violence are before me. Strife exists and contention arises. Therefore the law is ignored, and justice is never upheld, and it isn't. For the wicked surround the righteous, and therefore justice comes out perverted. And boy, isn't it perverted. And it's perverted to uphold who? We know who it upholds. All we got to do is take a look around. Look among the nations. Observe, be astonished, wonder. Because I am doing something in your days you would not believe if you were told it. And so when women like me come out and begin to break down that little book that is sealed up for the seven thunders to utter, the world can't believe it. So they wouldn't have believed it then, and it says you would not believe it if you were told it. Had you been told it then, you wouldn't believe it. Most don't believe it today. So behold, I am raising up the Chaldeans or the Chaldeans. So who are the Chaldeans? Well, it tells us in one here, it translates it properly, Babylonians. The Chaldeans were Babylonians. I am raising up the Babylonians, that ruthless, impetuous people who sweep across the whole earth to seize dwellings not their own. So Babylonian system, what they're talking about it's the religious lie that overtakes the globe. Look, I am raising up the Babylonians, that bitter, impetuous nation that marches across the earth's open spaces to seize territories that are not its own. They are dreaded and feared. Their justice and authority originate within themselves. I really like that version because that's exactly the religious system of men. Their sense of justice and authority comes from themselves. It originates within themselves. Who? Men. Their justice and their authority originates with themselves, which is your Baal men, as they're described, of course, in Jeremiah 23. We keep hitting at this. That began to have dreams according to the wicked imaginations of their own mind. This would be one of them. Their justice and their authority began to originate with themselves. And you watch what else it says. I like this. It says, their horses are swifter than leopards and keener than wolves in the evening. Their horsemen come galloping. Their horsemen come from afar. They fly like an eagle swooping down to devour. All of them come for violence. Their horde of faces moves forward. They collect captives like sand. They mock at kings? No, they mock at God and rulers and are a laughing matter to them. The mock at the rulers, right, are a laughing matter to them. They laugh at every fortress and heap up rubble to capture it. Now I'm going to say something here. I said it once before. When we got looking at where the supposed perfect law that the Jews come up with, you know where they came up with it in? They came up with it while they were in Babylonian captivity. So guess where the law actually originated from that the Jews supposed and brags up as the most perfect law of the world, or mankind brags it up as the most perfect law of the world. It came from Babylon. That's where it came from, and it does tell us that it did. So then they will sweep through like the wind and pass on, but they will be held guilty. Now, this is the one I like. And I do think it points to men specifically, but they will be held guilty. They whose strength is their God. Yeah. And that's just what the men preach and believe off the pulpits. Well, man's God, because look, it's this. And what did it tell us about what they were doing to the women's houses and the women's rightful inheritance when we traced it all out in Micah chapter 2? Let's go there. Now, I ain't got it pulled up, so I'll read it in my Bible. But in Micah 2, we've read this passage many times. But it's funny how it all comes to validate it. It's amazing to me how it becomes, the picture becomes so clear. So Micah 2, I can find it. I think I went past it. Yeah, I did. I went past it, didn't I? Nope. So Micah 2, what does it say? It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds when the morning is light. They practice it because it is in the power of their hand to do so. Well, now we trace that back to kings like King Solomon was the one that we also linked the beast system's number back to, 666. We know that 666 is the symbol of a covenant. That's what, and what he was doing, he was actually changing that covenant over from one of light to one of darkness. He changes the key of David over to the key of Solomon. The key of David was the righteous stone rejected, which was these righteous daughters that flowed from the north, from Lebanon, like a living water. We get her identified as the water in Song of Songs 4:12-15. That flows like Lebanon. And we also get her identified in Proverbs 5, but we know that they rejected her water and put in play a harlot spirit. And we know because the Babylonian system was actually creating so much violence in the land, they were stabbing her in the back. We see Nimrod being one of them, that it says he became a mighty man. Yeah, he became a mighty man because he was actively seeking out and hunting the righteous out of the land is the idea behind that. Now, we did a video on that a long time ago, so I'm sure there's much more that we could probably include on that if we looked into it again. So they laugh at every fortress and heap up rubble to capture it. Then they will sweep through like the wind and pass on, but they will be held guilty, they whose strength is their God. So, and it's no different with Christianity. It's no different with the religion of Islam. Let's not leave that one out of it. Islam believes so much worse in many ways now, but you got to go back to the beginning of Christianity when it began to be incorporated. It was pretty wicked in its roots, at its roots. And even today, many of the women that's been captured by these religious lies and some of the maybe not so well-known shoots of Christianity will tell you just what's going on in many of these cults as you come to realize that you've been brainwashed to believe this religious lie. And many other women will tell you how they're expected to be, how they're treated as less in these offshoot Christian religions, but they are there in the world. And I know just from sitting under the preachings of the men off the pulpit, they didn't even realize how deep the hate for women went when they were on there preaching, and you could hear it so clearly. So they preached their man God. Judaism, of course, was the offshoot of Christianity, supposedly. In many ways, when we get right down to the heart of it, and how these main Abrahamic religions took hold, and that's like a stronghold of 5 billion plus maybe believers in those 3 main religions alone. I think close to 5 billion. Maybe I'm a little off on that. And then you have like Hinduism, I don't know, Buddhism, those that believe in gods like Shiva. I don't know exactly what that offshoot is. I can't remember it. But their numbers is massive. It's a huge number. And the bulk is male concentric, male, man, strength, right? Well, he's got to be God. Look at the strength in his arm. He's got to be God. And that's what they came to build their lie upon. So, and they used the violence in the land to do that. And they affected the law system by removing it from God's chosen anointed one and placing it upon themselves to incorporate their law that they wanted. And then by extension, their idol of a man that we see comes to become standing. It says every successive kingdom king in Daniel 2 has built upon this religious lie of a man idol as your God. So then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God. Then they sweep by like the wind and pass through. They are guilty. Their strength is their God. So, and that's just what it's all built on. That's all the religious lies. It's built on man's strength. It's not built on the truth of God. It never was. God says, in Isaiah 29, you approach to me with the vain traditions of your men, but you don't even know who I am. So the world is so far removed from God's truth, they don't even know they're found guilty. They don't even know it. And, I've been reading that. I wasn't gonna, but maybe I will. This isn't the passage that'll take me about 5 minutes, but this is what it says. And this one was in, okay, is that the right one I'm going to read? Yeah, it is. So I was reading in the secret book of John, and this is what it said, and I wrote it down because it was so profoundly true. I couldn't avoid it. So the secret book of John, it says, out of fate emerged, out of fate. And so I had to understand that, so I did, but we won't share that because we're supposed to be reading this. Out of fate emerged sinfulness, violence, blasphemy, forgetfulness, ignorance, weighty commandments, heavy sins, terrible fear. In this way, all of creation became blinded and ignorant of God above everything. Because of imprisonment and forgetfulness, they are unaware of their sins. They are bound into periods of time and seasons. I suspected this. I even spoke on it. By fate, who is Lord, small l, of it all. Who created this God of fate, this fake Lord of fate that caused all of this to take place? And the idea is that we are so removed from the truth. We have come so far in sin that we don't even know it anymore. And it is so true. It is so true. And yet the idea is that yet her nation, or the nation of God, I forget how it says it, immovable nation, yet comes back to this and knows it. Right? Finds the truth and knows it. So it doesn't speak like it's a lot, but in the end, it has a lot of positive things to say. So in that sense, it's quite nice to read these off non-canon books in that sense. But some of them is so heavily so heavily influenced by man's hatred towards women. It's just so there. Every other word he writes, it's almost like a male fantasy, and how he'd murder women, and how he just, women this, women that. It's so obvious for anybody who goes in and studies what so many of these so-called forefathers wrote about women. Their hatred was just seeping out of them, just seeping. It's a little bit more controlled today, and I wouldn't paint them all with the same brush, because she herself has sons that sees her truths. So anyway, verse 12, and I'm still in NASB. We'll read Habakkuk 1. Are you not from everlasting, O Lord, my God, my Holy One? We will not die. You, O Lord, have appointed them to judge, and you, who, O Rock, have established them to correct. So who's she talking about if it's the Rock? And we've identified the Rock using Deuteronomy 32. verse 18, you forgot the rock that writhed in pain to birth you. She says, when I did that, there was no strange God with me. There was no father. There was no son. There was no Baal. It was me. I did that. But you forgot me, she says. You forgot your creator in the days of your youth, right? You ignored her. And she's also called your judge in Micah chapter 5. She is the judge. But it says they smote her, the real judge, on the cheek when they laid a siege against her and came in upon her wave upon wave, stabbed her in the back, set her up to take the blame. All right? And yet she's the one that is considered your creator and your maker. So we will not die, you, O Lord, have appointed them to judge. Them who? The daughters of Israel, the daughters of Zion, that flowed from the north as the key of David from the house of Lebanon, which is where the government of God met. And you, O rock, have established them to correct. And that's our purpose, to correct you. You have erred greatly in your pathways, and you are bowing down to an idol which you were instructed to never be found doing, and that's in every major religion of the world. She says, you saw no image, you make no image, neither male nor female, but you do follow the laws off of the daughter's tongue. That's how it is identified in the Old Testament. Your eyes are too pure to prove evil, and you cannot look on wickedness with favor. Why do you look with favor on those who deal treacherously? There we go with treacherously. What does it say? It says, and Adam dealt treacherously with me there. Like Adam, they dealt treacherously. The word means unfaithfully to me in my covenant, right? They stabbed her in the back. They married the daughter of strange God, a harlot spirit that would bow down to man, this male idol, as if he is Lord and God. He's also known as the Antichrist. I would say that is Jesus. Jesus is your Antichrist. Yes, they put him in place a long time ago. Oh, Satan is so clever. He got himself worship. Satan is another name for Adam, your accuser. Beelzebub, you'll discover Baal and Beelzebub all leads back to a man, meaning man who wants to be woman's head. And then make her his harlot and make her bow to him and steal her goods and her rights under the law. That's what we discover. All of that means. So Jesus, Antichrist means against. Anti means against. And we discovered the word nomian. Now, while nomian itself means lawless, it connects us to come into being, genome. All right? And so earth and nome, lawless, the lawless earth, then comes into being, I think, and the meaning is understanding where they have erred, where they have went wrong, because they forgot, and forgot. Being forgetful keeps coming into play in some of these old canon books that I've never read, or new canon books. But antinomian means against her law. That's what they were against. And so when they put in a man or a male idol, such as Jesus, such as Allah, such as Yahweh, though Yahweh isn't supposed to be male or female, they absolutely calls him father, though. They make sure they do that. They get that in there. But what is a man? He's totally against her law. That's what he's really against. Women should not have rights. No, no, no. Her in here making laws for us. No, no. That's antinomians. That's the Antichrist. You who are against the against Christ, the anointed one. And that was she, the daughter of Zion. That was the anointed one, she. And they turned on her and they stabbed on her back and they said, this power in our arm is our God, not you. And that's what they've established in the land. So your eyes are too pure to prove evil, and you cannot look on wickedness with favor. We found them daughters in the book of wisdom. And they actually accused her of the same thing. Well, they were more or less saying, well, as long as she's there, we're not going to be able to get away with anything under the law. We need to take her out. And we read this in our wisdom studies. Now, what chapter was it? I can't quite remember, but I should have probably marked quite a bit on it. So let me see if I can locate it. if I'm able to see right there. It's actually in chapter 2. Yeah. Verse 12 will begin in wisdom. So this is taking me back to this. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because she is not for our turn, and she is clean, contrary to our doings. Right? They wanted to twist the law the way they wanted to twist it. And they wanted to make violence okay under the law. They wanted to oppress under the law. And they basically wanted it to be able to do whatever they wanted to do, which is what wisdom is saying here. And in chapter 2, verse 12, she is not for our turn, and she is clean, contrary to our doing. She's pure. Your eyes are too pure to approve evil, and you cannot look on wickedness with favor. Why do you look with favor on those who deal treacherously? So she's then speaking to her wisdom. Upbraideth us with offending the law. She upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy, the transgressings of our education. They would not listen to her. They were rejecting these daughters of wisdom. She professes to have the knowledge of God, and she calleth herself the daughter of the Lord. She was made to reprove our thoughts. She is grievous unto us, even to behold, for her life is not like ours. We keep coming up with a difference in this particular group of women that are different. They are eternal. They are from eternity. From her life is not like others, and her ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of her as counterfeits. She abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness, and she pronounces the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh her boast that God is her mother, not father. Now they've got all of this shifted around to the he pronoun, which is what power in his arm will cause, because she was not doling out the judgment at that time, because they snuck up upon her, is what it appears, and stabbed her in the back, and then came in upon her wave upon wave. Okay? So, it says, why do you look with favor on those? Why do you look with favor on those who deal treacherously? So why are you favoring Adam at this time? She's saying to her mother. Why are you silent when the wicked swallow up those more righteous than they? So that again takes us to Isaiah 42. She says, long time have I held my peace. So why are you silent when the wicked swallow up those more righteous than they are? So it keeps connecting us back to this idea that there's a portion in the earth that was once called the presence of God on earth, called God on this earth. And she says, God, why do you remain silent? Why do you not take up our cause? All right? We're getting a difference here. Again, why are you silent? Long time have I held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. When the wicked swallow up those more righteous than they, why have you made men like the fish of the sea, like creeping things, without a ruler over them, without a spirit over them? All they have is a strength in their arm, saying, we are God, we are God. And then they say, where is God? Where is God? In some of the passages in the Old Testament, where is God? There's no such thing as God anymore. We've wiped God out of the land. That's what these men keep claiming. So the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, the wicked foe, pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net, and he gathers them up in his dragnet, and so he rejoices and is glad. He has. Satan, the accuser, has got this whole world duped into worshiping him as God, and they do. Therefore they sacrifice unto their net, and they burn incense unto their drag, because by them their portion is fat, and their meat is plenteous. By who? By those who worship their male god, making him king of the land and ruler. Sure he is. He has exalted himself to the throne of the Almighty. Yet he will fall, and they'll say, who is this man, this mere mortal male, who caused the world to tremble? And it's just a mortal man. Shall they therefore empty their net, and not spare continually to slay the nations? And that's continued even up to this day. And yet they will look to the heavens and say, Jesus, come and get your idol can't come and get you. Oh, he might appear to put in play his law, and the whole time it says he hates women. He has a deep hatred to women. And I happen to be skimming comments on some channel. I don't even know what the channel was. And it may have been in, not there, it may have been in a different section that I was looking. I don't know. I can't remember where exactly it was. And the idea is you're going to know the Antichrist by the description of him in Daniel. And one of his marks is that he hates women. Well, I would argue, I'll tell you, you're not going to have a ruler come to the top by coming right out and declaring that he absolutely hates women. He's going to hide that fact. He's going to appear pretty darn charismatic, and he's going to look like the opposite to that. He's going to look like, oh no, we cheer women on, when in actual fact, he's probably going to be working behind the scenes to ensure that his hatred against women really is what is ruling. So I think we see a lot of that going on right now. Habakkuk 2. Now, this is the chapter I did a video on, and if I can find it, I will post it underneath this one. And I look at this now a little bit different. It's funny, I never saw it at the time, or I'm pretty sure I didn't see it at the time. I will stand on my guard post and station myself on the rampart. Excuse me. I'm going to burp. Myself on the rampart, and I will keep watch to see not what he will say, what she will speak to me, and how I may reply when I am reproved. And you're reproved when you realize you're wrong in what you believe. That's number one, how you're reproved. I got that in a vision. Oh my, the vision must have been at least 7 years ago now, maybe longer than that, 8 years ago. And I've spoke on it briefly. I said I believe it was when they were looking for the first fruits at that time, and it says many are called, few are chosen. So many may have had dreams. Remember these dreams? Maybe you don't remember these dreams. I happen to remember it. I was brought before a throne, throne-like. It was like 3 steps up, so it wasn't this high, massive throne like men love to show in portraits. It was about 3 steps up, and I was bowed right down because I was a Christian and deep in Christianity in my mind, the way that I thought. And Mother was sitting in the middle, and they were like kind of fancy, nice little chairs, but they weren't the big old doodah of what you think of as a marble throne and all this fancy stuff. They were pretty humble to my way of thinking. And Mother was sitting in the middle. To the left, not the right, was a man. And I never picked my head up. I was crying and I was weeping. And by the way, the right-hand seat was empty. There was nobody sitting in it. And that's why I believe it was the calling out of the first fruits. They were looking for the daughters of the first fruits. And when I was brought back, I'll briefly come to this point. I ended up in my bed, and I was kind of laying with my arm hanging down the side of the bed, and I looked at the clock and it said 1:44, and I had the distinct feeling that there was someone standing in the corner here. And that someone was the same one that had brought me back, and I remember flying through the stars. They were just coming at me so fast. And then I was in my bed, and I truly believe it was calling of the first fruits. Now, the man was what really triggered me in this dream, because I was weeping, and Mother, she seemed like I said, she seemed like she had a really good sense of humor to me. And she said, "Dear, why are you weeping?" And I muttered something to the fact he died for my sins, and blah, blah, blah. And he acted very upset. He was like that, like, "Get her out of here. Just get her out of here. Another one. Get her out of here." That's what triggered me. I'm like, in all my humbleness and in everything I had been taught of how great his love was, and he couldn't stand the sight of me. That told me something because I knew it was a dream from God. And the setup was totally different than the one I had been told, and I knew it come from God, and I knew it was a calling out of the first fruits. I do. I honestly believe that that's what it was. So when I read this the first time, I looked at this totally different. I used the commentary to draw out some points that I believe it meant. But now we're going to look at it in a slightly different way. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what she will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. So this is her actually being presented her case by the Spirit, what she must answer when she is reproved. This comes back. Okay, you must answer this. This is your case that you must show. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that she may run that readeth it. So what does that mean? I've concluded, and it's took me all these years to finally understand what that verse means. It means that when you are gave a literal vision that you believe comes from God, you must absolutely understand it first. And you write down what you understand it to mean. It comes to mean something very plain, and you are able to run with that information and that understanding. And that's what that is saying there. Write the vision and make it plain upon tables. So we understood that what it meant to be anointed didn't mean to have a dream, because many of us have dreams and visions. And yes, some of us can say that's definitely from God, whereas maybe some of us just say, well, they're all from God. You can't. I can tell you one identifying factor for me over the years. I used to dream quite a few dreams when I was young. And it wasn't until the dream in 2004 that I realized I had finally had a vision from God. It took that long, 2004. And I realized it come from God because it was in, and I know it sounds crazy, but it was in Technicolor. It was vivid. I mean, the color in it was so vivid. Whereas all the other dreams that I ever had was just pale in the color. So I knew I had to take note of this particular dream. And so for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. Well, how does it speak? We said you are anointed. How? When you do the work. When you actually understand what your dream is about. And Judy, one of my commenters, has been trying to understand her visions and dreams. And yes, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. So you can run with what it means, so that it may be plain, so that you may understand it. And God says, what is a dream? What is a dream to the word? But what we fail to understand is when we sometimes study those true visions from God, it leads us to the truth of the true word. So God identifies a foolish dream, and I think God is referring to foolishness of man. Because when you believe these religious lies and lies, you start to dream nothing but these foolish religious lies and dreams. And they're so saturated in now, and they're so far removed from the truth that they don't even know it. But once you start to work to identify those meanings in those dreams, and you are working at it to study, to truly understand what God wants you to understand, you write it down, and over time it becomes plain, so that the dream is not what actually anoints you. It is the work that you do that anoints you. That's what we come to understand. So the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, takes time to understand. Wait for it. Just wait for it. It will come, because it will surely come, and it will not delay. It will not tarry. The meaning will come. It's the work that's going to anoint you. It is not the vision or the dream. It is the work that you do. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by, not her faith, but by the truth. The truth is what is faithful. The righteous is faithful and true. All right? But that means you are faithful to the truth. You are not faithful to an idol, which is a lie. That's not going to save you. And when you do the work, which is going to anoint you, which is going to allow what you write to be plain, so that you can run and deliver it to those who are willing to hear it, then you are truly anointed, truly. And that is the truth that you begin to build on. So the righteous person will live by her faithfulness. What is true? Right? What is true? He dealt treacherously. He was unfaithful. He lied. He lied. And he's been doing it from the beginning. Yea, also, because he transgresses by what? Transgresseth by wine. Furthermore, wine betrays the haughty man. How did it betray him? Well, it took us to, I'll read it. Isaiah 29, didn't it? Isaiah 29 says this. Let's see, we got it. 29. Does it say, how did the wine betray him? Let's see if I can find it here. But right in the light, then it makes it so you can't see nothing. Let me see if I can find it. It may be 28. Yeah, I think it is. Actually, the more I think about it, I believe it is chapter 28. So we'll just go through this pretty quick. Right here, verse 7. So it's Isaiah 28, verse 7 is where this will take you to. Yea, also, because he transgresses by wine. Furthermore, wine betrays the haughty man. Moreover, wine is a traitor, an arrogant man who is never at rest. What does it say here in Isaiah 28? But they also have erred through wine, and through strong drink are out of the way. What sits on the table? Red wine. What are you drunk on? And if you go to Habakkuk 2, we're going to read it. Verses 15 and 16. He put strong drink to not his lips, her lips, which was the neighbor to the north. Yeah. So that he could expose her nakedness. That's what it tells us what the wine did. The wine is identified as an admixture of lies. And he gets drunk on this power. Yes, he does. Through strong drink and are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. There we get the strong drink. The wine is identified as strong drink that will lead you astray. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision and they stumble in judgment. Yes, they do. For all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. That's exactly what's going on today. No place is clean in this world today. Not with this religious lie. He got drunk on this power. And this same filthiness, this same vomit, leads you to Baal's dung. Baal is another name for your husband playing Lord and God. It says she married. The wife of this marriage is called Baal herself. Why? Because she's spouting his same filth. And she can't wake up from it. Because they've lied to her so long and they have used violence through the law to put in their idols. Every successive kingdom has built upon the religious lie of man as God, and it has so empowered him to do what he wants, when he wants, because she was too pure. She professes to have the knowledge of God, and she calleth herself the child of the Lord. She was made to reprove our thoughts. She is grievous unto us even to behold, for her life is not like ours. Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because she is not for our turn, and she is clean. Contrary to our doings, she upbraideth us with our offending the law. She wouldn't go along with it. They couldn't bribe her. They could not bribe her, and she was the law of God. She was the Word. She was the anointed one. So what was the filth here? Isaiah 4:4, I will wash the blood and the filth, this vomit of Baal, which is human excrement. Yeah, go in and look at the word. Off of my daughters. That's what she says in Isaiah 4:4. Come to my waters freely, Isaiah 55. Only believe, and you will be clean. You will be set free. I didn't ask for blood. I never did. So furthermore, wine betrays a haughty man so that he does not stay at home. He enlarges his appetite like Sheol, and he is like death. He's never satisfied. He also gathers to himself all nation and collects to himself all people. That's the idol. That's the idols of your male gods. That's how he's collected you. So shall not all these take up a parable against him? That's right. So they're going to take up this taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. He built himself up with thick clay. He empowered himself through violence, and he removed the law of God off of the land to the point where wisdom says, you put in hate and built a world upon it, and you call it love now, and you can't tell the difference. That's how far removed you are from God. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoilt many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, actually women's blood, and for the violence of the land and of the city and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, and that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Woe to him who dishonestly makes wealth for his house, to place his nest on high, to escape from the reach of disaster. Oh, disaster's coming for him. Gonna take him right out. Yep, he's gonna fall to earth. Isaiah 14. Who is this that caused the nations to tremble? Who is this mere mortal man that caused the nations of the earth to tremble? Isaiah 14. Well, another name for man would be, what was it? Oh, Adam, wasn't it? Thou hast consulted shame. You have planned shame for your house by wiping out many peoples and sinning against your own self. Surely the stone will cry out from the wall, and the rafter will answer it from the framework. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and founds a town with violence. That would be the founding of earth. That's how it's been founded. It keeps telling you over and over again, this earth transgressed the laws of God and has never come back to him. Never. They don't even admit that they're not even going to be saved. They don't even admit, they're so far removed from the idea, the true idea of how you are saved. And yet, there is hope, right? There is still that hope there. When you begin to read these non-canon texts, it begins to add up how it is possible for somebody who does die in these religious lives to actually, through times and seasons, to actually begin to understand this truth, though there is also other pathways that they take according to different canon, non-canon that you read, which is sometimes hard to understand, but anyway, the hope stays alive because God is long-suffering, that none should perish. God wants them all back walking in the way of God. And that is not through your idols. If you bother to pick your head up, you might understand that. If you bother to pick your head up from the idol, which you were not to have before you, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the seas. Yep. They're finally going to know the true glory of God, which is not a male idol. Woe to you who make your neighbors drink. Yeah, that puttest thy bottle to, they've got him italicized in the King James Version. It's to her lips that he put it. And makest her drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. It says, let our eyes look upon Zion, let her be defiled. This is the drink, which is the wine, which is the admixture of lies on the table that he's drunk on and empowered himself through, which was by adding lie upon lie upon lie that has caused the entire earth to fall back. That means into idol worship and transgressed the true Creator's law. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink now thou also. Yeah, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand, identified as daughter Zion, that right hand throne, as you want to call it, was empty. She was searching for her daughter Zion. It takes you to Isaiah 64. Once you get your gender corrected, and it is corrected once you follow out the pathway, you completely understand it's a feminine. She says, I will call she who went down into the earth to make a name for herself. I will call her out. She who placed her spirit within inside of Moses, I will call her forth. This is what's going on. So the cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on your glory, on you. You who's professing to be the glory of God, you men, and you do. You profess to be the glory of God. Man is the glory of God. Jesus is the glory. And on it goes. And in Psalm 116, it again, once you correct it, it's female. She says, I will drink down this cup. I will drink this cup down. And she did, and she took it on her own head. And that becomes a burden in a sense. Though the Lord said in the Old Testament, in Jeremiah 23, you do not prophesy the burden of the Lord, that's a deliverance of children through her. She says, don't you dare once prophesy that or it'll become your burden to deliver. Well, guess what it did? Then you see every man standing around. Where is it? Jeremiah 31, Jeremiah 30. Why now do I see every man standing around with his hands on his hips as if he can deliver life? He can't. He can't. But that's what all of this is telling you. But it's going to turn back. So the truth is going to come out, and it says their face is going to turn into flames. They're angry. They're angry because they know in their heart of hearts what reasons and what does not. And it does make them angry. So for the violence of Lebanon, what Lebanon? The house in the forest of Lebanon, which is identified where the government of God met, identified as the daughters of Israel from the north kingdom, also referred to as the daughters of Zion, her branch. Zion means a branch, a scion. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid because of men's blood, because of women's blood. They cry out to her. That's who they're crying out. It says she goes in and she makes an inquisition into blood. And she uses the spirit, the word, and the water. She does. What is it? The spirit, water, and blood. And she uses these things. Now that's all allegorized. And once you identify the allegory and what you're actually looking for, you are actually able to make an inquisition into the blood. That's what you're able to do. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of the beasts which made them afraid because of their blood. How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not avenge us upon those who shed our blood in the earth? So again, it takes us back to actually this core group of women, truly, in Wisdom, chapter 2, who held to the purity of the law and the truth without going overboard. They held to the purity of it, to the truth of it, which was 10 commandments in the beginning. It was really quite simple. They were called the gently flowing waters of Shiloah. They were not harsh treatment, but these men did not want to uphold. They wanted violence so they could heap goods upon their heads and take her as a spoil and have as many children to teach her lie to. That's what they wanted. So for the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid because of the blood, and for the violence of the land of the city and of all that dwell therein. How long, O Lord, holy and true? Oh, she's going to avenge it. What profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof has graven it? So what profit is the idol when its maker has carved it? He's of no good to you. He's of no value. Guess what value is? To empower those men on the pulpit, to empower the men in the law system, even those who don't believe in him. They'll commit, we don't believe in him. Doesn't matter. With 5 billion that believes it, guess who it's going to empower to write laws? It's going to empower him. So what profit is the idol when its maker has carved it, or an image, a teacher of falsehood? It's a lie. For its maker trusts in his own handiwork, and he did. He trusts in his own made-up religious lies, because you know why? It tickles his ears, and it tastes like honey on his tongue. Yet it says he will be forced to spew it back up, just like the wine that he drank down. So when he fashions speechless idols, they are speechless until they bring forth a man pretending to be, well, not pretending, there's many Antichrists, many against her. They could take anyone, I guess, and put him forward, and the Christians would all start murmuring and go, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. Don't take much to get them murmuring, because they're so deluded. They've been so brainwashed in this religious lie through thousands of years of laws of violence that has just simply been incorporated into the way that you think. You can't think past it. Woe to him who says to a piece of wood, awake, and to a mute stone, arise. And that is your teacher. Behold, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all inside it. But the Lord is in her holy temple, and let all the earth be silent before her, because she says, long time have I held my peace. Now I'm going to go forth, and I'm going to deliver my children, and that means you're all going to be silent. You know why? Because it takes us back to how you become anointed. You become truly anointed not by visions and dreams, though they may start your pursuit into it. It is the work that you do to understand what the Lord wants you to understand, and what, in the end, you are appointed to know. So the idea is that the memories that you actually bring forward are of yourself, of an eternal self. So I have to say, these women who are pursuing some of these stranger visions, which would not go, oh, man's gone, I saw Jesus in a dream, I seen Father sitting on a chair, throne, and he said this, and he said this. No, I would have to say, those are those who's just so deluded into their religious thoughts and thinking that they can't find themselves anymore. Especially a woman who's been so pushed down. This group of women, they're different. They're different. They're able to retrieve memories that are pointing to something very differently than what we've been taught in this made-up world, made-up lie. And that is what it is. It is a lie. When I had my dream in 2004, this was the passage, and I said it even then. I said, the Lord took me to Habakkuk 2, verse 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Because I had said at the time, when I had the dream, and it was about, I don't know how long, I can't even speculate anymore, really, how long it was after I had the dream, because I kind of thought, well, I'll understand it. It'll be there. Bam, I'll get what the Lord gave me this dream for. And it wasn't something that I could let go or forget. I have never forgotten it. And any other dream I've had, I'm pretty sure I can't tell you any of them. If I sat and thought long enough, I might remember some of them in my childhood, but I don't think I can remember any of them. This one never left me, though I wasn't a child. I was a full-grown adult, quite mature at the time. And I had been given this dream that I knew it came from God, and there was no other way around it. And I have never been able to forget it, along with another core group. It's a small group of dreams that has really helped me to understand what the Word of God was really pointing to, and it's pointing to the little book sealed up, and that is the little book of truth. The rest is a whole bunch of mumbo-jumbo lies written by men over the course of time, where God says, oh, I sent you not, yet you ran, and you wrote, and you wrote, and you wrote words that I never sent you with. Ah, but I promise you, the burden of the Lord will be upon you, and every man's sword will be upon another. So when they began to write all the religious lies, it began to fracture off into different groups. And now what do we see? We see nothing but bloodshed and violence in the earth. And most of the time it's due to religion, isn't it? And she told him that. She said, if you do this thing, I promise you, it'll all come back upon your head. And that's exactly what we see. So there's the video. How long is it now? Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's perfect. Good. Not that bad. Thanks for watching. I pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth. And probably the next little video would just be me reading this little thing that I wrote down. It's not so short, but you know, and I might make a few little comments on it as we go. But it shouldn't take me long to get that one done when I decide to do it. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. Pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth. Keep looking into the things that the Lord has given to you to look into. It is your own personal anointing, not just because it's a dream that says you're anointed. It's a work that you do. It's your follow-up that you do that anoints you, truly. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a lovely evening, as it is. And thanks again.